Kia ora tātou, welcome back to the Wargaming Den. This week's game is another game of Kings of War. The Orcs are taking on the Nightstalkers once more. We're playing at 2,300 points, which is our new normal, and the mission tonight will be Fool's Gold. I've changed the Orcs a wee bit this week. I've got two regiments of Long Axe, a troop of Axe, and the Horde of Axe with the Brew of Sharpness again, so lots of Defense 5 units there. The change I've made is I've increased to 2 Troll Hordes just to give a second Horde a try. I painted up the second Horde, so I wanted to get it out on the table, which meant I've reduced the Gore Riders to a single regiment, but I've kept the troop of Gore Riders with the Skirmishers boots, and I've got the 2 ubiquitous war drums. With other supports, I've got the Crudger on a Gore, a Crudger on foot, a Flagger with the Loot of Insatiable Darkness for the Bane chant. This time I've taken 2 God Speakers with Fireball and Drain Life, and finally Lefty, the Crudger on Winged Slasher. So again, it's about 16 units and 26 unit strength, thereabouts. Gordon's using the same list as last time. Now, the one thing I did forget last time is he's got a Terror and he's got a Horror. So he's got his 2 Hordes of Scarecrows, the Tormentor Regiment, he tucks in behind one of those usually. 2 Butcher Hordes, 2 Shadowhound Regiments. They're just the bane of my existence. They're fast, good number of attacks, 20, 40 in the flank, and 2 of them working together is a bit of a challenge, let's just say that. The Terror and the Horror. The Dream Hunter, that's working quite well for Gordon as well, even though it's an underrated unit. Maybe people should look at it more closely. The Dread Fiend and the Void Lurker and Inshera as well. So about 13 units, 26 units strength. Now, the mission we rolled up this week was Fool's Gold, and it's a mission, to tell you the truth, that I don't think we've actually played very much. It's got 7 counters on it, and I think some are worth, one's worth 2, 2 are worth 1, and a couple are worth 0, and we place them on the table after choosing sides, and then on the end of turn 3, all the tokens are turned over and they become objective markers. So most of them is pretty central, so you can see we've got them scattered across here. There's one there. There's one just in front of my army over here, one here, another one over here. I think there's one just out of sight over here that I placed. Turns out Gordon placed his 3 scoring objectives over here. I scored my 3 scoring objectives here, here, and over there. So we were kind of going to swing around in a corkscrew. Let's have a quick look at deployment. So I put my big Axe Horde out on my far flank with the Trolls. They're secured by a building. They were late deployments. Trolls, Long Axe, more Long Axe, Gore Riders protecting the flank. And as you can see, I've kind of tried to only deploy on half the table and protect the flank against those very fast Shadowhounds. And there's both units of Shadowhounds down here. So I was going to try and, I wanted to capture these 3 and then maybe spin around and see whether or not I might be able to contest one of the other ones. But I really wanted to try and lock down these 3 and focus there if I could. Gordon has got his 2 Shadowhounds out wide, his Horror, the Terror there, the 2 Butchers with the Dread Hunter that when he joins them in combat can add elite to a unit to combat, so that's really quite handy. Then he's got his Dread Fiend, again supporting the Butchers. They get 18 attacks. I kind of think of them as Ogre Warrior type units, really. And at the back, his new Void Lurker model that is very cool that he's painted up in the last week. Hopefully I'll have some photos later on to show it because it looks really nice, a great centerpiece to the army. Then out here, he's got his 2 Scarecrow Hordes with the Tormentors that can leap over the front. So Gordon, I think, is going to secure his flank in this wood and then try and push through into this area and try and capture the objectives there if he can. So we're kind of both looking to hold on one flank and dominate on the other. So let's have a look at the game, see how it turns out. And actually from this angle gives a better idea. So there are the 3 objectives I placed. These are worth 1, 1, 2, I think it was. something like that. There's another counter down here that was a 0. I think that one's a 0. I think Gordon's 3 scoring ones are here, here, and here. So the ones here and here and here are all decoys. But this is a good indication to see how open Gordon's flank is, and also how open mine is, but how I've tried to basically just curve my line around to take that into account, because I was really worried about the speed of those two shadow hounds up there. As you can see, they're 20-inch move. They can race down here. They're nimble, so they're able to do a pivot, and before I know it, they would be into my flanks and causing all kinds of mischief if they had a chance. So I wanted to try and negate that if I could. And here we have a bit of an overview of the end of Gordon's turn. Now, I really like these top-down shots that I do. My problem is I get so engrossed in the game, I forget to take them half the time. But I did on turn 1. Now, the interesting thing about these two armies is I think Gordon's got one spell he can cast on turn 1. Maybe it was Barkskin, something like that. No shooting, so we were actually pretty quick. But as you can see, both of the Shadow Hounds, as anticipated, have roared up the table. They're full 20 inches. One of them has also done a nimble turn by the looks of it there. That looks like the Horror, and the Butchers have advanced, and he's kind of got the other Butchers and the Dread Fiend advance as well. But he is just holding his Scarecrows, Hordes, and the Tormentors back here to hold this flank. So yeah, very fast turn, not much action really to report. And yes, I forgot to take a top-down shot, so this is about the only decent shot. I advanced the Trolls and the Axe Horde, and the Crudger is out in the front there. They're just nearing the woods. I think I've got the Axe Trooper behind here. Trolls are leading the charge, and they've got a Crudger on foot near them, and the Gore Rider troop in behind. And on this side, I just kind of moved forward a wee bit, but just tried to reposition against the threat of those Shadow Hounds, and also tried to keep my Winged Slasher back supporting these guys. So not a good photo of that, unfortunately. You'll have to take my word for it. And here's a bit of an overview at the end of turn 2. So as you can see, Gordon's just moved forward a wee bit on his left-hand flank, getting his hounds and his Horror and Butchers in position to charge. This terrain here, though, is a bit of a hindrance. There's a field, and it's got 2 walls on it as well. That's going to hinder anyone that hasn't got Strider. My turn, I just jockeyed these 3 units here to try and counter the speed of the Shadow Hounds, and I've kept my Wing Slasher tucked in behind. The idea being to try and push Gordon back slightly, because he's been measuring and making sure that he's been out of my charge ranges so far. But over here, as it turns out, I've left my Gore Riders out to dry a wee bit, because they're probably going to get multi-charged next turn. The other troop of Gore Riders is also moving this way to reinforce. I can see that this is where the real danger lies. On the other flank, I've pushed up through the woods, and the Trolls have pushed into a gap between the wood and the building there, and they've got the Axe troop in behind. So I'm preparing to attack these Scarecrows in the next turn or two. My Crudger is also out wide. At the end of the day, though, I don't want to be sucked back into here too much. I think that's the 2-point objective there, and I want my Axe Horde to be able to grab 2 objectives at the end of the game. I'd be quite happy just to swing them around and let the Trolls maybe engage with some support later on. But it's definitely quite a cagey turn 1 and 2, not a lot of action when it comes to combats and things like that. There's an old saying, go big or go home. So turn 3, Gordon really threw the pressure on. He attacked with both of the Shadow Hounds against my Gore Riders. I had no chaff out there protecting them. They're going to be facing 40 attacks. They're not likely to survive. The Butchers are attacking the Long Spear here with the help of the Dread Hunter. I think the other Butchers are attacking my Long Spear here, and Shira, whoever she is, attacking one of my two God Speakers. Now, I was actually really worried that the Dread Fiend was going to charge through here and straight through both of my God Speakers. I thought I'd left them a wee bit open. The combats were about 50-50. I think one of the combats with the Long Spear didn't work out very well. Gordon rolled low, but the next one he rolled high, and he may have bounced one of the Long Spear regiments. He definitely took out the Gore Riders with the 40 attacks coming in from the Shadow Hounds. They were well and truly, as I said, left out to dry, unfortunately. So he's already making inroads around here, but I think I held around this area, and we'll see how I responded. Actually, before we do that, this actually gives a better overview down the line. So the Long Spear here have taken 10 wounds, but were wavered, so they survived that. The Void Lurkers back there. Hounds have turned to face my lines. These ones, I think, only took 3 wounds, maybe. Gordon also threw in the Dread Fiend there by the looks of it. Over here, the Tormentors charged the Trolls, a couple of wounds maybe, and the Scarecrows also charged the other Trolls over here. And I think they caused no wounds. They might have got 4 hits, but no wounds out of their 25 odd attacks. So pretty much all of Gordon's troops got into action apart from a couple of units down here. So yes, he really committed to this attack. And here's a shot from my turn. So I pulled back the wavered units. Godspeaker retreated. Standard Bearers supporting. They're moving to try and strengthen this flank as well. I was worried about Gordon getting in behind here and chaos ensuing. Over here, though, I charged the Scarecrows with the Trolls and the Axe Horde and destroyed them, and also the Trolls destroyed the Tormentors. Now, this was a mistake from Gordon. He readily admitted later in the game is actually he should have just stayed in the wood, which is what I was expecting him to do. Apart from Jesse's boots on one of the Troll hordes, I've got nothing to go into bad going. So if he'd kept the Scarecrows there and the Tormentors, I was really going to struggle to move them. Would have taken a lot of resources. So that was a wee bit of a mistake because they both died, and that's kind of opened up that flank. You know, I'm exposed here, but Gordon's now exposed over here. Now, the real big mistake I made in this turn, though, is with Lefty, the winged slasher. I don't know what I was thinking. I was thinking, I'm out of line of sight there. I'm out of line of sight there. I'm out of line of sight there. What I'm definitely not out of line of sight is these Shadow Hounds. And I didn't measure how far 20 inches was because I'm a numpty. But furthermore, I just didn't even consider those. I made sure I was out of the arc of these ones. But as it turns out, these guys are going to be able to get me in the flank. And I completely forgot the fact that a couple of Gordon's characters and individuals are nimble, Eshin's Shearer and the Dread Hunter. So in Gordon's turn, I'd just thrown away 300 points basically, because he's going to turn around and smash the crap out of poor little Lefty. So that was a big mistake. But what made it even bigger was actually I saw the opening over here, and instead of going that way, I initially measured 20 inches over here. So it's going to be way behind the Shadow Hounds. Sure, I would have been facing the wrong direction. I could have done a 90-degree pivot, but it would have meant that the following turn I could have turned and I would be, one, in behind Gordon's lines for once, which very rarely happens, and two, I would have been in the proximity of the objectives over there. So potentially I would have been pulling some of Gordon's strength away. But instead, I just sacrificed the queen, so to speak, on a very stupid move. So yes, that one I kicked myself afterwards for, oh, what were you thinking, Craig? But hey, never mind. Luckily, nobody was killed and no plastic was harmed in making this video either. Finally, I remembered to take a top-down shot. So as you can see, Gordon's really threatening my flank here, and my wavered unit wasn't. I had to retreat or say where I was. I moved back again to try and get these ones in the front rather than in the flank. And I've got the war drum trying to protect, but this flank is looking very dodgy now. That was the God Speaker that had been wavered. But as you can see here, my combats killing 2 of his units have really opened up this flank for me as well. So we're doing ye old toilet bowl or corkscrew as we're kind of swirling in towards the center of the table at present. But my X-Horde aren't going to be pushing out this way because that's worth 2 points. That's worth 1 point. And there's another 1 point that they're pretty much underneath. So there's 4 objective points to be had just in this little area. So I need to actually protect those objectives as much as I can. And yes, we have it just as predicted. Anyone would think I'd seen this game before or something. Lefty got well and truly slaughtered and chopped down to size by the Shadow Hounds with 40 attacks. And then the 2 characters hitting on 3s added their weight of fire to the combats as well, and Lefty was no more. So things are looking a bit grim. The long spear have disappeared. The Dread Fiend is charged into the trolls over here. These trolls had maybe killed something over there, but the Void Lurker has also charged into my what are they? The Gore Rider troop. So Gordon's swinging around here and is rolling me up, but and these guys have actually gone backwards, going backwards to try and get close to those objectives for turn 6. And the Axe troop have advanced over here, and I don't know why, but I completely forgot that Void Lurkers and Horrors and things now have unit strength of 2. I thought, I've got this. I've got unit strength of 1 on the objective, and I've got a war drum nearby, which is another unit strength 1 if I need to. But instead of staying over there, protecting this objective, the war drum went charging over here to get a flank attack to help out the Gore Riders against the Void Lurker. I'm not sure if that's a good idea. We will find out. Right, and now it is well and truly coming down to the wire. Just brutal, really. Turn 5, at the end of this turn, Gordon's down to less than 20 seconds of time, which I'm not sure how that happened, because the first 2 turns we weren't getting into combat, we weren't using spells or shooting, and we both had 50 odd minutes, but suddenly the time just went in those middle turns. And he was left with basically no time left on his clock at the end of turn 5, because yeah, there was just lots of, I don't know, lots of stuff happening. But anyway, what have we got happening here on turn 5? My Crudger is trying to slow up the butchers. I'm trying to hold the objectives back there. I'm holding the objective there, so I've got 3. Gordon's got his scarecrows blocking these trolls from running around and trying to get near an objective. Never going to happen. No sign of the Shadow Hounds, because they're backpedaling for the objectives back there that Gordon had placed. The War Drum had charged into the side of the Terror to try and slow that down. That there is the Terror. Not the Horror. I get those 2 around the wrong way. As well, the Void Lurker was in here. against the Gore Riders that have retreated. That's the other. The two God Speakers were over here firing as many drain lives as they could against the Void Lurker and boosting the units around here, getting the trolls and the Gore. I think they actually might have removed about 4 or 5 wounds off the Gore Rider troop to keep it going for another round. And just out of sight here is a Crudger that had hit the Void Lurker as well. So I'm trying to. The Horde is now about in position, so it can contest the 2 and a 1. These guys can contest. So I've got 2, 3. I've got 4 unit strength here. Gordon at this stage has only got 3 maybe on that side, and I think these guys are here because they were attacked here by the Shadow Hounds and took 21 wounds. They've got a nerve of about 13, but or no, the nerve's 11. It was one short of the number of wounds that they took was one short of doubling their total nerve count. But then Gordon rolled a double 1, which could have and probably should have been decisive and a game winning for me dice roll, because there was no way he was going to get back with the amount of time he's got left on his clock to take the objective over here and also take one of my objectives off me. So basically at this point of time I thought I had it in the bag. So what did I do? I attacked this guy with a war drum, and rather than also attacking him with the Crudger, I sent the Crudger here to slap the butchers. There's no way the butchers were going to get through the trolls. I needed to do 1 wound on the Void Lurker to ground it and disorder it so that it couldn't fly or use its nimble, but I didn't. I didn't think if the Crudger had attacked 5 attacks, the odds are he would have done at least one wound on the Void Lurker. Because what happens, Gordon's got 20 seconds on his clock. He pivots this thing 90 degrees and he just flies it straight there. Actually, there where that base is marked there. And what that means is he's contesting this objective. Not only is he contesting that objective, but he's got a unit strength of 2. So suddenly it's going to give him more unit strength. Whoops. So not a lot to be done in turn 6. That guy there has actually taken the objective off me. These guys couldn't do much. There's not much happening over here. Those combats were pretty much irrelevant as well. Gordon's grabbed that objective. He's grabbed this one. There's one. No, sorry, that guy hasn't, but there was a guy back there grabbed another, which gives them 2, 3, and by burgling this one off me, gives them 4 to my 3 that the Horde is contesting. So somehow, out of the jaws of an unexpected victory, probably should have been a draw, I've managed to snatch defeat. And we're left going, how the hell did that happen? But that's the way the game sometimes goes. And there we have it. Somehow 4-3 victory to the Nightstalkers. But oh my god, what a game. That was the closest game we've had in a long time. We actually had a game the night before of Hold the Line, and my Orcs got smashed 7-0 on turn 5, I think it was. I thought I was actually going to be doing a battle report of that battle, but found the photos from this one instead. So I only took photos. I didn't have any video of this one, so I apologize for that. But that was a brilliant game. That's one of the closest and hardest fought games we've had in a long time. And Gordon was definitely sweating at the end of his turn 5, trying to figure out a way to win. But he spotted that Void Lurker move, and that was a brilliant move. And yes, I kicked myself afterwards because it only took would have taken one hit from the Crudger to ground the Void Lurker, and then it would have been at least a tie. And if we had gone to a turn 7, we didn't. I might have been able to do something to try and even turn it into a victory. But yeah, fantastic game. Very, very close. Well fought. Two balanced armies. Really enjoying the way my army is playing. And I quite enjoyed having the second troll unit. But what I do need to do is start using Chef a bit better in characters to try and protect the Gore Riders. I've got to focus on trying to negate those Shadow Hounds early on a bit, because their speed and nimbleness and two of them together with 40 attacks minimum are a real worry to this army. I've got no shooting to disrupt them. I've got no lightning bolts or anything to disrupt them, so I'm going to have to either use some chaff units or sacrificial characters or something to try and slow them. Or I've got a couple of ideas how to deploy a wee bit better to take that into account. So we'll see if my ideas pay off in our next game, which will be next week, I think. So anyway, if you've made it this far, I'm very impressed. Thank you very much for watching. Leave any comments you like down below as normal. But until next time, ka kite anō. Take care. Good gaming.